What's up, guys? Welcome back to the NFA podcast. It's Rug Dealer here with Beignet, and
What's
today
up?
we have a very special guest, Jeremy Fisher, founder of an upcoming project called Lucky Ducky. What's up, Jeremy?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So let's get started with sort of your origin story. How did you get started as an artist?
It's funny that like when you're a kid, you just do stuff without really thinking about like where it's gonna lead to. Like if you're like playing basketball, you're like, I'm not, maybe you look up to Michael Jordan, but you're not like, I'm gonna be a pro basketball player. But like when you're an artist as a kid, you're just like, I want to make cool stuff. And for me, that was like watching movies like Star Wars as a kid, and just be like, I want to make Star Wars. So I would go home, have my favorite toys. Some of them are still up in the rafters here, and I would just start like making my own little movies with a little camera, and just like recreating the scenes I'd seen in on the screen, and sure enough, I'm learning stop motion without really knowing that it's stop motion. So over time, I just kind of like started like learning about the special effects industry and how they made all these movies, and then I start to find out that like, oh well, that's not how we make movies anymore. It's all computer based. There's like all digital work. All like the stop motion and the practical effects is kind of like been put on the back burner. It's still out there, but like it's like the late like 2004, 2005, like the CG stuff was really taken off, and I was like, okay, well, if I want to like be an artist and making my own movies, I got to learn how to do this digital animation. And so I went to school for it. I studied a couple years, and then I realized that I hate computers in the process. It was kind of like a really humbling experience for me early on, because like I don't know if you've had this experience too, but like you're just kind of like on this like track. You're just like everyone's telling you like keep going, just go towards this goal. Like you're gonna be this thing, and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and you keep like climbing this ladder, and then you get to like a nice level, and you're like, wait a second, am I really doing the thing I want to do? And I guess you call it like a quarter life crisis or something, but like I was like 21 or 22 when this happened, and I was like this close to failing computer class, and the guy was like 1 point below passing me, and he was like, I'm not going to pass you. You're not ready for next year, so you can either drop out or switch majors or retake my class. And I was like, kind of like, just had a crisis of like, what do I do? Like, I've been told my whole life basically like this is my path, and then to be told by a teacher that they're not going to like pass me, it was just like it all just came like screeching to a halt. And I had kind of like lost the through line of like everything that I had been like doing, and just kind of like following this line. And I had to like remind myself like what was the thing that I was really passionate about, and it wasn't computer animation. That just was like the outlet that I was like being told to go towards, because that's a good career, that's a good job, like Pixar, DreamWorks, all that. But it wasn't really like my passion or my dream. And so then I just like took a month and just like figured out that like, oh yeah, it was stop motion. Like I was making my own toy movies when I was a kid. And so I like switched majors. I went to fine arts, which had like a more broader degree. So you could do like sculpture and photography and all these things. And I kind of like forced my way into all these classes that were like normally, only for photo majors or only for like, film majors. And I got to take all this like random stuff to piece together a stop motion course for myself. And through that, I got to like build a little portfolio, um, and that was kind of like the thing that kind of finally made sense to me. It was like, oh, I'm just like finally getting into this thing that I was passionate about as a kid, but didn't really know how to do. And I find out that there's still an industry out there with Robot Chicken and like movies and stuff. So that kind of like got me back on track to go into animation. And then I packed all my worldly belongings and moved to LA on an internship. And then I ended up here. And yeah, it's a real condensed version of it.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So you said you started doing stop motion with like action figures and stuff like that.
Mhm.
How did you start doing stuff with clay then?
So it's like I always was into like drawing, painting, making little movies, but also was into sculpting a lot. So the sculpting and the filmmaking kind of went hand in hand. Like if I was making a Star Wars scene and I didn't have the right toy, I would just like sculpt it and just like make the character that I need for that scene. So that like early on was just like, I don't have this character, but like I can make it. So
Mhm.
it was kind of janky looking, but like, you do what you need to in the time.
That's really cool. And I mean, speaking of Robot Chicken, for those of you that don't know, you are the Robot Chicken guy. I mean, a lot of us grew up on Robot Chicken, right? So
Illegally watching Robot Chicken on Adult Swim in the middle of the night.
Right.
So could you tell us a little more about that and sort of like your Web 2 presence before getting into this space?
Yeah. So it was like one of those things that happens like just out of the blue. You're just like doing a thing and you're just like, okay, like that'd be cool to work for them someday. I watched as a kid. And when I, go back a little bit, when I graduated college in Florida, I, wanted to get an internship somewhere, wanted to get my foot in the door. So my friend put me in touch with a small studio in LA that does stop motion. And I had convinced myself that like they're not going to take me seriously unless I like fake it and say that I'm LA based because I'm still in Florida at the time, and like no one's going to like wait for me to just like drive out to California. So I lied and said I lived in California and used my friend's address. And the guy running the internship was like, yeah, can you like start tomorrow or like next week? And I was like, can you give me 2 weeks? I'm doing some stuff in Florida right now and can get out there. And literally packed all my worldly belongings and drove cross country and showed up the first day with my car still packed. And it's like, give me this look of just like, like almost like you didn't have to lie to us, but like you're here. And so it's like
Right.
that weird trust thing. But then the Robot Chicken thing came about because the studio that was doing it prior, Shadow Machine, they, I guess, changed contracts or lost the partnership. And so Stupid Monkey at the time, they partnered up with, what was it called? The name is escaping me. Buddy Systems, they were called. So Buddy Systems and Stupid Monkey joined forces and became Stupid Buddy. It's like a weird, and I was interning there at the time from that internship. I had like gone on like 6 months in that internship, just like doing everything I can, like washing dishes and cleaning up like dusty RVs and stuff. And then they finally tell me that like, oh yeah, you gotta like pay your dues and stuff. And then like a week or two later, they finally get Robot Chicken. I'm like, finally, I get to like have a job here and not just be like scrounging for like whatever odd jobs I could find. And yeah, so it was kind of like from there I just started from a job called Track Reader, which is like you're basically putting the little mouths on the characters in the spreadsheet. So the animators can say like, okay, it's this vowel sound, this consonant, and this vowel sound, and then it pieces together frame by frame, so it looks like the character's talking.
Mhm.
Right.
And that was a glorified data entry job for me for 2 years, and I like kept seeing people come through and like they get to be animator and they get to like move up, and I'm just there like typing away, like watching all my like coworkers just like doing the cool thing where I'm like hoping like kind of like was it Milton from like Office Space, where he's just like he gets pushed further in the back of the room and like behind all the boxes and stuff. I'm just like doing my job, patiently waiting for my chance to like finally show what I can do. And sure enough, like there's just a random time where like the guys were like, hey, this guy is out for a day, can you like animate for a little bit? And so I popped in, and I was pretty rusty, but like yeah, like after a few practices they offered me an assistant job and then finally an animator job. So
Nice.
that's like a 10-year journey too. So.
Dude, it's crazy impressive though.
Yeah.
I mean, so how would you say you started in the NFT space? I mean, we met through the Cool Cat community. So was that your first like sort of NFT community you really dove into?
Kind of. So when I first heard about like NFTs was like way back, I think in 2020, when it was still talked about like, oh, it's a Bitcoin logo, or it's just like a Ethereum on fire, and it's like a bunch of guys in spacesuits and stuff. And that was my first idea of like what NFTs were. I didn't really understand that like I had a place in that space.
Mhm.
So I was like kind of curious about it. Like I had picked up some like Ethereum and Bitcoin earlier, just like little bits, and never really talked about much because I'm not like a trader or like big into stocks and stuff. So that stuff really is not interesting to me, like to talk about in conversation. But then when the NFT stuff was popping off a little bit, I think like people had first made a huge sale, and then I really got kind of like curious about it. It was like, oh wait, this can be like art for anybody as long as it's like, you know, looping or animated or something to it. And around that same time, I was out in my garage shooting a little like series of, I guess you call them like sticker packs. So they're like stuff you'd buy on your phone for like what WhatsApp or
iMessage.
iMessage. Yeah, so for like a few bucks, you could just buy these stickers, and I was like, that's gonna be my income stream. Like my side hustle is gonna be like, I'm gonna put these stickers up, and I'm gonna sell them for a few bucks, and maybe make, you know, $100 into the day, and but then the NFT stuff was happening at the same time, and I'm like, wait a second, this is like way more interesting than the sticker pack. Like, there's art involved, there's like animation, there's all this crazy stuff, and it's not just like $3 like end of the day, or like, and then Apple takes like 40% or something.
Yeah.
So I redid the stickers and made more involved scenes with them, and I made these little like hand gestures with these skeleton hands like popping up. So it would be like peace sign or like a thumbs up. So all these different gestures and like a spooky scene with it. And I call them Nifty Bones because like just a little play on NFT, and put them on Foundation. And the first week one sold, and that was like awesome because it's like, wait, I just made like $200 without like having to ship something or like make a whole bunch of materials and stuff. And that was like a real game changer for me from, you know, working 9 to 5 at the studios and stuff. And I'm like going to work, and I'm just like, oh, it's sold. And I'm like talking to my coworkers, and like, they're like, are you sold out yet? And sold out. I'm like, no, I just sold one, but like, like that's not how this works exactly. Like, and so that was back in, I think, February of 21. And then nothing sold for a while. Like, it was kind of like quiet. And I was like, okay, well, maybe that was just a fluke. It was just one off. And, you know, this could just be a good experiment, and you know, see what happens. So I tried like some stuff on like Hicketnunk and just to like try on other platforms and things. And around the time Cool Cats and Bored Apes were starting to blow up a little bit. So just kind of watching what they're doing. The art for Cool Cats was like so much more like my style and what I'm into, and just like never dabbled in Discord before. So I like got in Discord and started looking at the community, and like I think I saw you guys on there early on, just like talking in the community, and like the vibe and feeling was so different than normal Twitter space too. It was like very like friendly and fun, and just like everyone's kind of like rallying the troops, and kind of like, you know, there's like a whole internal, like, it's almost like like, I'm not a huge sports person, but I imagine like being on a football like team is like, you're like, oh man, we're all like going into the game, we're gonna be excited.
Yeah.
Got all the memes ready and stuff. We're like really excited about the play, and probably not the best metaphor, but like it's just like really fun to like see all that happening, and then you just kind of like walk in there and you're just like, whoa, this whole thing has been going on. And yeah, I just like want to be part of that. So I picked up a Cool Cat when it was like the most expensive thing I had purchased in a long time, and that back then it was like, I think around like 1 ETH, and I begged the guy to like drop it a little bit, and then I finally just said, okay, what the hell, I'll just buy it, because it was like above floor, and it was like, you know, it was like the one I like really wanted because it had like had like a little beret on, and had like a sweater, and it like felt very much like me for some reason. And
Painter vibes.
Yeah.
Artist
vibes. And I just like saw something with this character. I was like, this is like, they're tapping into something here that's really special. That's like, you can be a part of yourself in this character, and kind of like, you can play a part, or you can like let this character like exemplify parts of yourself online. And so it just got like the wheels turning for me, like how I could be part of this in different ways. And then I just like, you know, I put in my profile, and around the same time I was collaborating with another project, goes by Dead Devil Society, And this guy, he's based in India, and he made his own PFP project, and he asked me to collaborate on doing a bunch of like pieces with him. He like reached out to all these artists he's friends up with, and that's the first time I picked up clay for this, and was like, okay, well, like they have this style, like what if I took that and made it in clay? And I gave it to him, and he like put it online, and it sold for like 2 ETH at the time, which was insane to me because my stuff was selling for like 0.2. And I was like, wait, so, and this was like half for charity, half for us. So it was like, I was like seeing that like there's like this weird sort of relationship you can start to build with other like builders and collectors and founders and stuff. And just seeing how that like ecosystem works, where like you work with this person and they make something cool, and then they work with you and it helps you build, and it's like leveling the ship type of thing, like the tide rising. And so from there I was like, well, I can take this cool cat I have, maybe I'll take my cool cat and make it a clay cat and just see what happens with that. And the response was cool. Like people tweeted it out and shared it and were like, when's mine being turned into clay? And it was
I do remember this actually.
Yeah, it was like one of those things where you like you have this kind of idea in the back of your head, like maybe this could go well, and then it's like it blows up, and then you're not expected for the feedback and the attention. And I had to like make a whole document for all these people that are reaching out to me, and I had to like keep them all organized. Like this person wants this, and this person wants this, and like starting to making like a whole side business with this. And yeah, so I started doing that for a while, and Clown reached out to me, and he wanted to have his turned into a clay cat. And then Kevin F, he reached out and was like, we're doing this event in LA soon. I love your clay cat stuff. Can you do a piece for the
auction?
CCLA for the auction? And so for that, I was like, I'm going to just like go really crazy with this, because, you know, this is like my chance to really show what I can do in this space. Like not just recreate something in clay, but like actually push it in a new direction. So I like made a little script and made storyboards, and I like hired on like a really awesome cinematographer I'm friends with, and we just like rented all this gear, and we like I spent like a boatload of money on this. Like that's kind of like the secret is that like this stuff is not free or cheap to like do, unfortunately. But like I had a feeling that if I really just push it over the edge and just go insane with it, that like people would really respond. And sure enough, like I finished the piece. It's like this little, if people have not seen it, it's like a little clay cat that's like making a little sculpture, and he like knocks on it and it just explodes, and there's the original cool cat. So that piece, got displayed at CCLA, and I think it sold for like
did really well.
4 ETH.
I think it sold for 4 because
Yeah.
I was about to bid on it, and then I was like, "Come on, man, why is it so high?"
Yeah, and that was such an insane day. Like I'm not part of like the fine art like gallery system whatsoever. So like I'm not used to like people coming up to me and be like, I want to write a check for this right now. And like people are like literally at CCLA and like the after party were like coming up to me, be like, I just bid on your piece, just to let you know. It's like whoa, like I don't know how to respond to that. Like I'm not used to like people just like throwing money in my direction and being like this like 1-to-1 like thanks like or you're welcome. Like I don't know what to say there. It was like such a surreal experience, and yeah, it just showed me how cool this whole space was and how just fast can like things can change.
So at this point, were you still working with your like regular job and then just doing all the NFT stuff on the side?
Yeah, it was still a side job. I was still working full time on the last season of Robot Chicken, and it was like weird to like go back to the office and just like act like things are normal there when like it's not even an office. It's like it's a warehouse, and but you're basically like if you've ever seen behind the scenes of how these shows are made, they're like little curtained off like studio spaces. So you're like on a table with the scene with the characters, and they're kind of like leaving you to yourself for like 10 hours a day. So you're like by yourself animating, and then the director or somebody will come check in on you every so often. But then we'd go to lunch and people would be like, what's happening with the NFTs? What's going on? Like, are you selling a lot? Are you sold out? Like, what's crypto? Like, is that a scam? Like, asking me all the questions. And it was like, it felt like living like two lives at the same time. I was like starting to kind of build this digital NFT side of me, and also trying to like work a normie like 9 to 5, yes, normal type of studio job, working for Robot Chicken. Like it's still surreal to even say that, but like that was to me normal for the past couple of years. But yeah, it like eventually clicked that I had to change things after we wrapped on Robot Chicken, because I could not continue doing the work I was doing while also trying to like build what I wanted to build with the NFT space. And that was the last real job I worked. I think it was back in July or August.
Nice.
And I've been like, people reached out to me for the past 6 months really, and asking me to come back to the studios. And I say like, hey, I'm kind of doing this NFT thing. It's like such a weird, like,
it's a role reversal, because before, when you first started, no one really talked to you about doing anything. So, and now they all want you back.
I know it's like such a weird position. Like I still have that like especially early days of working in LA, like anyone who's working in entertainment or creative fields can say that like this is like a feast or famine setup, where you're working really hard for like 9 months of the year, then you hear nothing for like 6 months, and then you're working really hard for another 6 months or another month, and then nothing for a couple months. So like you build up this sort of like hunger for work, and you're always constantly trying to find the next job or next thing, and you're never turning that stuff down because you don't know when the next paycheck is coming.
Yeah.
And I think there's still a part of me that like feels that like tinge of like uncertainty of just like when I get that email and like I want to respond like, haha, I'm good, thanks. But like part of me is just like, what if I say no, and that's like the last time I get a job out here, and like everything else falls by the wayside. But thankfully, like I've been able to trust myself more and more the past 6 months, and what we're building here is like feels so much bigger than just a gig or a job. Like, so like I feel less and less of that, like that fear and uncertainty, the FUD, I guess.
The FUD, literally.
My internal FUD.
So tell us a little more about Lucky Ducky. I mean, of course, that's coming up. We're super excited for it. But like, where did that inspiration start?
So, I mean, it really kind of goes back to a few things. So when I wasn't working at Robot Chicken, I also worked 2 years for Hallmark. They had me on their e-cards team. And if your grandma has ever sent you like an e-card, for those who don't know, it's just like an email with a little animation. It says like, get well soon or happy Valentine's Day. And just real like impersonal sort of Hallmark thing. And I worked for them for 2 years. It's like the most I've ever gotten paid. And I got like a 401k and like a fitness plan, this whole like amazing thing. And I was like working in an office and got to build all of my crazy original ideas with them. And they're like, pitch us an idea. It's like almost out of a movie, like pitch us an idea for like a Penguin Day card. So I come up with a couple concepts and storyboards. And that was the first time people had really given me a chance to like come up with my own concepts and like trusted me enough to build an original idea, rather than just like, hey, we wrote these jokes for the sketch, animate it and all that. So from there, I really started to learn about like the writer's room, like pitching ideas, like building concepts, story development, all these things that like I kind of like had a sense for, but like didn't really like sharpen that tool for myself until that point, and couldn't prove to anybody that I could do it. But then from there, like Hallmark eventually fired our whole department in one go. We were given like 90 minutes to like pack up our stuff and get out.
Dang.
It was just like a fire, like someone pulled a fire alarm, and I was just like, okay, everybody just grab whatever they can. Like, I lost like so much work on hard drives because we weren't able to like download files fast enough.
Right.
It was just like, it was so scary. And like that experience taught me so much about like, you think like someone's got your back, or like some company is going to be like, yeah, your family, you're with us forever. And it's just like, and they're like, okay, pack your stuff and get out of here. You're done.
That's crazy. 90 minutes.
Yeah. It was apparently someone had screwed up at some point of the manager side, and it's whatever. It's like, we got severance and stuff. So like, it wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to me, but like, it was really a lesson in just like, don't get too comfortable with any employer that's going to like, just let you go the first chance they get if you're like a number that's not, moving up the charts.
Mhm.
So
Right.
unless you're building your own thing, like you're kind of at the mercy for whatever is coming down the line, whether it be like Robot Chicken or Hallmark, any of these things. Like it's, you're just still a worker in their space.
Right.
And so that kind of taught me too that like even within this NFT space, I want to keep building something that is like my own, that I can really hone in on. And like I really love the Cool Cats, and I really loved what I was building with them, as like the derivatives and building little pieces for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that, and this is like not no FUD or anything on Cool Cats because I love them, but like with any project, you're kind of at the mercy of whatever happens to them if you're building derivatives off of them.
Yeah.
So if a project disappears overnight, then it's like, well, there goes your whole user base, and there goes like everything you're trying to build. And so I was like, I got to figure out like something that I want to do for myself rather than something that's based on another property.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people like reach out to me that like, hey, we have this project and we want to bring you on. Excuse me. And we wanted to like, bring you on as an animator. And that to me felt like the same sort of system that I was getting out of. So this guy who goes by Shrimpy UK, he's a developer, and he reached out to me and he's like, hey, I saw you in a Creatures World chat and like a space. And I'm looking to build a project, and I want to build some in claymation. And I saw your clay cat, and are you down to like put our heads together and work on something? And
Nice.
I said sure, like I'm down, and like did some research on him, kind of looked him up, and he seemed pretty legit. Like, but he didn't really have like a special thing that he already came up with, which was really cool for me. Like it felt very much like we had like a whole sandbox to play in, not just like, oh, I got this crazy idea I want to pitch to you. It was like, come to me with something and let's work on making something together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like really exciting because like it's been pretty rare that people like want to use me as like a place of ideas. It's like usually people want to use me as like a tool in their idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I've turned down so many like people doing pitches and people doing like concepts for like shows and I mean like music videos and all these things. Like, so like it was great to just like have somebody want to like start out just fresh, no prior know-how, no like prior like setup. And we started like bouncing ideas back and forth, like what to do with clay, what we're going to call it, what's going to be about. And this was back in, I think like August or September. And there wasn't a lot of duck projects at the time. And we were like toying with like, well, we want it to be animal based because animals are so much easier like to use as a character than people because there's so many complications that come about, like skin tones, and gender, and all this stuff. And it's like, I'm very like invested in all these conversations around that, but like, I also don't want someone to look at my characters and be like, oh, I can't be part of this because I don't see myself in the human aspects of it. So that was an early thing that I was really pushing for, was doing animals. And around the same time, I was also part of this community called the Creep Crew. And we were all like these spooky, creepy artists in Twitter chat, just like sharing art, talking about projects and stuff. And this one guy who goes by Goblin Town, he had his own collection and his own art. And I was really into like what he was doing because that was like very like illustrative and really like a nice like clean lines and like really well designed stuff. And I was like, if I get to do a project, like I want to bring this guy on. And he also seemed like really cool to talk to and work with and like easy to get along with. And so I, talked to my developer. I was like, hey, like I'm not the best designer. Can we bring on this friend of mine? And he was like, sure. And Goblin Town was down for it. And we just like hit the ground running, just like passing ideas back and forth, like pitching different things, like sharing like concepts we like and different projects. And we just kind of built this like little, what do you call it? Like a mood board or like even a Pinterest of just like all the stuff that we're into. And from there, like he started like sending me some concept arts, and I'd be like, this is working, this not so much, this is kind of cool, this we need to like completely avoid. And like somehow we like went through every like farm animal you can think of. But like, we tried like sheep and pigs and ducks and rabbits and but the ducks just like really stood out. Like there was something really fun and quirky and weird about them. Like that like and once we started like focusing on the ducks, we found this one that like just had the right proportions with like the way the head was shaped, where the eyes were facing, because a lot of characters are like facing off to the side, either left or right. It's kind of like, or like you don't see a lot that are just like looking directly at you.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of like, I mean, people in the like art history could talk more about this, but there's like certain historical paintings that like when the character is looking directly at you versus like there's like a female nude that's like she's like off to the side. It's like different like ways to talk about like the gaze of the viewer versus like who the character is looking at directly at you. Like it creates a different like relationship and conversation in the art.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that like really really interesting to like have a character just like looking at you, kind of like begging your attention, and kind of like really quirky and weird. So it's like there's just like it's like such character to it that like I was just like, this is it. This is our guy. Like his eyes are right. Like his expression is great. And then from there we just kept like elaborating on it, and we're just like, well, the name has to be like something duck. So it's like we like pitch every name you can think of under the sun, just like clay ducks and duck farm and duck village and like all the terrible names before we like Lucky Ducky just like stood out because it was like fun and it rhymed and it was quirky and weird and like, and also like we just built in something like a character trait to these ducks that like they're lucky. So you already know something about them just by the name.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to like read a whole bio to like understand that they're like fun and weird. But yeah, that's where the name and the character came from. And then just from there, we just like hit the ground running, just building out all the assets and all the character traits and what they're about. Yeah, so that's lucky.
No, it seems like you guys have been running this whole time, and the road has literally been being built by you guys while you're running on. It's super cool to hear this.
It's really cool. And we'll go ahead and throw in some shots of sort of the behind the scenes because we are in your studio right now. It's just, I'm just looking at these right now. It's crazy. Like how detailed like some of these glasses are, like the Astro suit. It's like, it's really crazy. What would you say the hardest part of all this has been so far?
I think the hard part, like people ask about like the time it takes to make the pieces. Like that part to me isn't the hardest part. Like I can sculpt and I love sculpting. Like I could just be doing that 24/7. Like the hardest for me is doing the project management side. Like, we're not in a crowded field with claymation work. Like there's only maybe a handful of us doing this type of PFP projects. And stepping back even further, like PFP projects are still not like a set in stone thing. They've only been around for less than a year.
Yeah.
So like we're still writing all the books on how to do all this stuff, like how to build out like character traits sheets, how to like make sure all the characters get enough elements and how they don't overlap to make bad layers and stuff. Yeah. And especially with claymation on top of that, now you're dealing with, so for anyone who's not familiar with this, like claymation, you have to film every single image. So, I have a camera and we'll show this stuff later or whenever, but the camera's facing down, there's a tabletop, and you're basically like shooting the character flat and trying to get all the lighting, all the shadows to line up properly. But it makes it complicated when it's all generative, because not only do you have to like make the scene look right, but like now you have to separate every little piece out. So you can swap the hats, you can swap the shirts, you can change the colors. And if they don't line up exactly right, or the shadows and their color temperature and stuff is not perfect, it looks really weird really fast. Like it looks like completely like the hat's not like part of the scene, or like the background doesn't feel part of it. So we had to basically like do a lot of R&D on that, like research on do we use green screen, or do we use like building out like little scenes individually? Do we use Photoshop to change the colors, and like trying all this stuff out? And a lot of stuff like didn't work. So that was just like months of like, okay, well, we tried this, it's not quite there. Like, and then we found some solutions that like, maybe in 6 months we'll have it like, in book form or ebook. Like we'll share like all the secrets to making the claymation PFP project. But like we're basically writing that book as we speak. Like there's nothing to really use on this stuff besides the old 100-year stop motion tools and techniques.
Mm-hmm. So you said how like you guys ran through a lot of stuff of that didn't work. How do you like kind of keep your head down and like focused and kind of overcome all those things, especially in a space where everything's moving like light speed?
It's tough. Like you're trying to keep your like ear to what's going on and like be aware of the space, but also not feel like you're like in competition directly with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Because like that's an easy way to like, feel like you're fighting every single thing and you have to like really rush things to get out the door. And so I just like tried to remind myself that there's like something that's going to be special about this. Like even if we're not like the first claymation project, which we weren't even from the start, like there was other people dabbling in claymation. But just reminding myself that like as long as we do this right, it'll be something we can really defend on so many other ways. That like we took our time, we didn't like cut corners. The work we're producing is our like we're really like standing behind it
Mm-hmm.
and proud of it. And it was tough because like I think that space does tend to pressure you to say like I'm the genesis and the first, and I'm like building this thing and no one else has ever attempted it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like that leads to like people really like trying to one up each other and trying to like do things that's kind of like half-assed and half like
Mm-hmm.
not really thought out as well. So yeah, I think like my background working in animation has kind of like helped me a little bit with keeping my head down, and like I signed like so many NDAs with projects that like they're like movies and shows I worked on that like I couldn't talk about for a year, like beyond my like immediate family. I couldn't like talk to my friends about like, oh yeah, I worked on that commercial with so and so like last month. I have to wait for it to come out 6 months later, and then I can talk about it and share it. And that's like I think that like helps a little bit because you kind of get built in the sense of like I'm gonna keep my head down, I'm gonna like work on this, but like they don't need to know about this until it's ready.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that mindset like really goes a long way with when you're working on stuff that like, people need to know when they need to know it. And before then it's just like, keep it kind of like to yourself, as best you can. But I mean, it's also tricky because you don't know exactly how it's going to be received. So it's like that kind of like
limbo.
Yeah. The self-doubt can kind of creep in because you're like, are these cool? Do I think this is cool? Or am I just like in my own head about this? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like off on a whole weird tangent that like no one else is going to like this. But yeah, every step of the way, we released the characters for the first time. People really responded well. The first trailer dropped. People loved it. Miami went off really well. Yeah, like every step of the way, like it just brought more and more encouragement to it that like we're doing something right here, that like we're not completely like going off a rocker, like trying to like make something that's really off base.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's just it's been so cool, like the reception so far.
And speaking about Lucky Ducky again, what is something that you've had to do for the project in whatever shape or form that you would have never expected, like from the builder side? Because people like everyone sees all these builders and they're like, oh yeah, it's so easy to build a PFP project, or it's so easy to do this, and it's like people really don't understand how hard things are. So
yeah, I think the term community is like it's it's like a meme at this point. Like every project talks about community. Every project wants to share like numbers and like that their Discord has like 40,000 people there.
yeah.
And it's like that can look like so many different things though. Like there's like so many easy ways to game the system where you buy followers, you shill, you like pay influencers and all these things that like can boost your numbers short term. But when you jump into the Discord and like people are like coming at each other's throats, or all they're asking about is like floor price and stuff, like
Scary.
it's scary. And it's like I think that was one thing that like I didn't understand like at all going into this, that like how much that was going to be a part of this job. And it really is like a job end of the day. Like it's art, but it's also work. Like so much of my time is spent like running a Discord, and like I never touched Discord until like maybe December or November. I was kind of like in there a little bit in the Cool Cats, but like it really is like too fast paced for me a lot of times. Like there's just too many different different channels and different projects, and like they all have their internal logic and jokes and things, and like and the threads just go so fast. It's like it can be like really overwhelming for me. And then now I have to like switch gears to be like, okay, well, also like run your own Discord now. And that's like, I mean, it's like, it's simple on paper, but like in the first like 50 people, it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then it was like the first day of Miami. We decided to open up our Discord to the public. We had like maybe just a handful of people there before. I think like All Out ETH was there. Like a few people were like, just like, hey, it's cool to be in your new Discord. And then Miami happened and we opened it up first day. And then like over 1,000 people just like swarmed our Discord.
Nice.
And we were just like trying to like, first time I met my developer in person too. Like we flew out to Miami, him from London and me from LA. And so we're like in this hotel together. We're just getting to know each other in person. And then all of a sudden like the Discord is blowing up at the same time. So we're having this like crisis of just like, hey, nice to meet you. Also, by the way, we got to figure out how to manage this. Because there's like no mods, no nothing, just us two in a room and like a Marriott or something. And like it just shows you that like things can really go haywire like really fast. And like someone had leaked out that like we were giving out OG roles. So in the Discord, everyone's asking like, am I OG? Am I OG? Like, and we're like, sure, whatever. Like, I didn't really know what that meant. And like, and so we're like, okay, first day, everyone gets OG status. And then people like piling on saying like, is OG whitelist? OG whitelist? And I was like, no, it's just OG is like cool. It's just like and like we were freaking out because like, and then we're like, it's blowing up. We're like, well, where should we cap it? Like, should we do like first day? Because if we have like 5,000 people in the Discord and they're all OG, like what does that even mean? Like it's just like, it means nothing then. And it really didn't mean anything before, but like now we have to like wrestle with all these weird like strategies and terminologies and like, and then so we capped it at like 1,000. We're like, okay, first 1,000. And then everyone got pissed at us after that because everyone kept rolling in still expecting whitelist or OG status. And then we're like, sorry, we capped it. And they're like, you're liars. You said this. And we're like, now we're dealing with all this like FUD. And like people were like really just dragging us and really just like really cruel to us. So, like, and like my first day in Miami, I'm like trying to get set up for all this stuff. And I'm like, now I'm dealing with people who are like mad at me about something that like had like almost absolutely nothing to do with the actual project itself. Just like some little bonus thing that we thought would be fun.
Just a title. And they're just super hyper focused on it.
And they're super hyper focused on it. And they thought they were going to get something free and because they're first. And then it turns out they weren't. And and that was like, I think that was like a really good lesson though of just like, you have to be like extremely clear in this space about what you're doing. Like you have to like, if you put something in writing online, you have to like really say like exactly what you mean. If you're not sure about something, like don't say it. Because it's so much harder to retract or to like clarify after the fact when, you know, information spreads and people say things and ask questions. It's like, cause you're going to be chasing that constantly afterwards. So to this day, we still get people like asking what OG status means. And it's like, just like, it's kind of like, it's like almost like a, you know,
they're twisting the knife in the
like,
wound.
It's like, oh God, like not OG status again. So yeah, so we cleared that hurdle. Thankfully, cooler heads prevailed. Like we got rid of some people that were really cruel to us early on. But since then, we've been doing a lot better. We're still struggling with like trying to hire moderators and stuff because like it's so hard to like hire people on and then trust people and to bring on people that you don't really know. So it's been mostly just me, Shrimpy UK, and Goblin Town and William Tong. And we brought William Tong on soon after Goblin Town. But he is this like amazing builder in this space. He's a cool cat and he's like been part of these communities like Omniforce and a few others. And he reached out to me when I was doing the Clay Cats and was like, hey, I want to make something cool. What are you up to? And so I told him about Lucky Ducky and he was like, I'm in, just whatever you want me to do. Like, I'm down for. And, you know, the more we got to talking, the more it's like this guy, like he speaks like more eloquently than most people I know. Like he's connected to so many places, and I don't have the reach, and I don't have the connections in this space, unfortunately. Still, like I'm still working on that, but just having him to kind of like guide us a little bit and kind of like show us what other projects you're doing, connect us with some people, and he's been like such a great like backbone for this project, because like otherwise it's just us trying to do this for the first time. But he's like seen these projects like rise and fall, so he kind of like says like, oh yeah, like that's what such and such did like a few months back, and now no one's heard of them anymore. Like, so he's like kind of like our guiding lights to some degree in this process. And but yeah, so like our team of like 4 plus a few like moderators has been like running the whole ship, and now we're up to like 6,000 Discord members. So like that's, yeah, it's like a full-time job if I let it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. We'll go ahead and put all the mint information up on the screen, because the pre-sale is coming up.
So
Probably
like
when
point to a screen and it'll like pop up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into some quick fire questions.
Okay.
So since it seems like this space never sleeps, what part of the day or night are you most productive? Because I mean, personally, believe it or not, like a lot of times when I'm even like editing these videos, it's like in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious.
Yeah, like unfortunately, like I'm a night owl when it comes to working. Like I find my creative energy going like 2 in the morning. Like I procrastinate from like 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. and then like, okay, finally I can start to work on stuff at like 9 p.m. through 2 in the morning. But that's unfortunately like also leads to a lot of like bad timing with like Discords and stuff, because like that's a 24-hour job.
Oh, for sure.
It's like there's always going to be people, opening tickets and asking questions and like being sir, like back and forth. And so like it can easily be like you can be like sleepless if you just let yourself. And I've struggled with that throughout this project. Like I definitely have thought of it like, oh, if I just push myself a little bit harder tonight, like I can get over this hurdle and then we'll like be smooth sailing. But it's like those things just keep coming. So it's like there's never a time to like really rest after the like pushing through the night. So I have to just like remind myself to take a rest and like not pull an all-nighter, not to like
go to bed.
Yeah, go to bed. Like, and like there's people in the space that really can, like they can do like a space chat, like, from like 2 in the morning to like 4 in the morning. And as much as I want to be part of those things, like it really is not good for me. So that was sorry, long.
No,
it's
you're
okay.
fine.
What's your favorite music artist?
Ooh, I've been listening to a lot of Beatles recently. Like that's an easy one, but I mean, like my mom used to sing me Beatles songs when I was way too little to remember from what she tells me, but like it's always been a part of my life, and it's like always been just like part of my artistic career, and just like. I would never get a Beatles tattoo, because like I feel like it's like getting like something in Helvetica like written out is just like the most like simple,
right?
But Beatles for me.
Nice. We saw you recently tweet about some other hobbies you're into, and one of them were like houseplants, right? So what is your favorite plant?
That has to be my monsteras. So they're kind of like the leaves that have like all the little like holes in them, but they have like really wide leaves.
Yeah.
Really easy to grow once you get the hang of it. Just like they're not super like complicated with like feeding it or like over like spritzing it and stuff. Like some plants like really need a lot of care. But yeah, and they just look really cool to me.
Yeah.
Nice.
What's your spirit animal?
Ooh,
is it a duck?
I think it has to be a duck now, and for better or for worse. I'm looking at like I go on Facebook now once in a while, and I don't know if you've had this, but like they advertise like in Marketplace, like, and for some reason now they advertise duck stuff to me. And I'm like tempted, like, should I get like an old hat that has like a duck on it? Like I'm now kind of in that world.
Nice. If you could put one person in your life onto NFTs that's currently not really exposed, or maybe telling you like, oh, this is a scam, what are you doing? Like, who would that be and why?
Geez. That's a good question. It'd probably have to be like, can I talk about like a group of people? Or
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It'd have to be like any of the current professors or like teachers right now in school, like, because like I know my experience may not be the same for everybody, but for me it was like I had to teach my teachers some of the technology stuff that I was getting into at the time. And I just know that there's so many teachers that like they either want to know more about NFTs or crypto or stuff, like, because as artists we're going to be like have to be in the space to some degree, like either even if you don't like NFTs, like you still have to understand why not to like it.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not like gonna say like everyone has to be involved with it, but like if you're an artist in school and you're like paying all this money for a degree, like you need to know what the ecosystem is going to be like when you graduate. And I think professors need to do a lot more work to like learn about the space and how to best train students, because I didn't learn anything about business. I didn't learn anything about like how to organize a small business for myself. And now I have to learn on the other side of it. And it's like I'm that much more behind trying to do this stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah. Nice. So I mean, I guess where we can like wrap it up, is there anything you want to talk about in terms of Lucky Ducky, or anything you just want to say, or alpha, whatever, up to you.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're just like speeding towards the finish line here. You know, we've had a few times where we've said like, okay, we're gonna like drop our pre-mint date, and those dates have come and gone because they just weren't right for us. Like we had just a few times where just like, okay, maybe we can finish like end of December. Okay, well maybe like mid-February, excuse me, and then maybe like early March. And those days were like, they were just big red flags for us of why we couldn't do it. And now we're finally like, okay, this is it. We're like finally ready. The art's ready. The animations are amazing. Like I'm super proud of what we've created. Like even if like I'm not gonna regret this, I don't think, but like even if we sold like 20 of them just to my friends, like I still feel very proud of what I've created with this project. Like
that's awesome.
You know, it's like it feels like worlds apart from when I was first starting out in LA, and I wanted to be in like a gallery artist, and I wanted to like put my work in a gallery, and I find out that like, oh, the gallery system is built upon like connections and who values the investment of your work. I mean, all the stuff we talk about now with NFTs, but like I didn't understand that first coming out here, and so I tried like, you know, going to galleries and trying to like get my foot in the door places, and I didn't really understand that like there's a whole reason for the gallery market existing that's like doesn't have anything to do with your work. Like you can be the best artist in your mind, but like whether they want to show it is a whole different story. But yeah, like the conversation I'm having now where like I was just trying to get someone desperately to look at my work and to think of me as not just the robot chicken artist that's just making things for a job. Because like end of the day, like I love those opportunities, and I love like the connections I build and the work I've built, but like there's no like I don't see myself in that work. It's just like someone has offered me a position, and I do the thing and I go home. Like I don't get to create Robot Chicken beyond shooting it. I don't write the scripts. I don't like come up with the jokes. Like it's all kind of like done for me. But with this, like I feel like such a different connection now with my work, and it's just like I go to bed like just like unable to sleep just because I'm like so excited that like I know that people are talking about me and the work in the Discord, and I just like can't even like fathom like how this has gotten to this point where like early days it was like, okay, like someone so retweeted my thing, that's great. But now it's like 24/7 international, you know, Discord members
people are talking
about it, and like it's just like it's like going to a gallery show that's like 24/7, and they're all talking about your work, and you hear every conversation about it, rather than having to like get up to the person and like overhear like what they really think about it. And that to me is like it's just mind blowing. Like I still haven't fully like wrapped my head around it, and I'm just like so excited that people are excited about what I'm trying to do, and like and the fact that people like want to make their own art off of Lucky Ducky, or they made friendships based on the community part. It's like I just can't like even fathom that like my work could do something like that. It's just so like amazing. I guess that's like, you know, that's kind of like, you know, what I've been really trying to build with this. And you know, and if it doesn't like, you know, happen on Mint or whatever, like at least like all of that stuff was already happened, and I feel proud of that part.
Cool.
I think it's going to do amazing.
Yeah,
I really
I don't think
Like,
that there's a world where it doesn't. It's just
Yeah, I still have that little bit of edge to me of this like half glass empty feel, so I always have to like check myself and be
Yeah.
like, you know, maybe it could not turn out so good. So
love to see it, man.
well, thank you for having us here and
Yeah.
being
Thanks
on the
for visiting.
podcast and letting us into the mind of who you are and Lucky
Sure.
Ducky and all that.
yeah, thanks so much for coming by.
Of course. Should we end it with a let's duck and go?
Sure, let's duck and go.
Let's Ducky go, guys.
Thank you guys. See you.
We're all gonna make it.